Good morning, friends. Happy Easter. He is risen. Look, right here, this empty tomb. It's proof that Jesus is alive right now, even today, even 2,000 years after this happened. It's still true that Jesus is still risen. He's still alive. And that is why we celebrate Easter. And that is why Easter is the best holiday, my all-time favorite holiday. Not just because of candy, even though your girl, Miss Angie, loves a Reese's peanut butter egg. And it's not because of bunnies. And you know what? It's not even just because of church. Because as much as I wish that you guys were here with me and I was having to throw out toys to get you guys to listen during large group. As much as I wish that you were right here in this classroom with me, that's not even the most important reason for Easter. What's important is that Jesus is alive even today. And so we're going to talk about that in a minute. I thought it would be really fun if we watched a little video from the Jesus Storybook Bible that tells us what happened. And so it's going to tell us a little bit about what happened on the morning that the women discovered that Jesus was risen. So I want you guys to turn on your listening ears and get ready to pay attention. And while you're watching the movie, I want you to think of two things. Who was in the story? Okay, so who's there? And then I want you to also think about, why is it important that Jesus is alive? Okay, so those are the questions. Who's there? And why is it important that Jesus is alive? So I'll see you guys in a minute, right after the video.
God's wonderful surprise. Jesus' friends were sad. They would never see their best friend again. How could this happen? Wasn't Jesus the rescuer, the king God had promised? It wasn't supposed to end like this. Yes, but whoever said anything about the end? Just before sunrise, on the third day, God sent an earthquake and an angel from heaven. When the guards saw the angel, they fell down with fright. The angel rolled the huge stone away, sat on top of it, and waited. At the first glimmer of dawn, Mary Magdalene and other women headed to the tomb to wash Jesus' body. The early morning sun slanted through the ancient olive trees, drops of dew glittering on leaves and grasses, little tears everywhere. The friends walked quietly along the hilly path through the olive groves until they reached the tomb, and immediately noticed something odd. It was wide open. They peered through the opening into the dark tomb. But wait, Jesus' body was gone. And something else. A shining man was there with clothes made from lightning. "Don't be scared," the angel said. But they couldn't help it. They screamed anyway. The angel asked them, "What are you doing here? This is a tomb, and tombs are for dead people." The women couldn't speak. "Jesus isn't dead anymore," he said. "He's alive again." And their hearts leapt, and then the angel laughed with such gladness that they felt, for a moment, as if they had woken from a nightmare. The other women rushed home, but Mary stayed behind. How could it be true? Jesus was definitely dead. How could he be alive? Just then, Mary heard someone else in the garden. Perhaps it's the gardener, she thought. He'll know where Jesus' body is. "I don't know where Jesus is," Mary said urgently. "I can't find him." But it was all right. Jesus knew where she was, and he had found her. Mary. Only one person said her name like that. She could hear her heart thumping. She turned around. She could just make out a figure. She shaded her eyes to see, and thought she was dreaming. But she wasn't dreaming. She was seeing Jesus. Mary fell to the ground. Sudden tears filled her eyes, and great sobs shook her whole body, and all she wanted in that moment was to cling to Jesus and never let him go. "You'll be able to hold on to me later, Mary," Jesus said gently, "and always be close to me. But now go and tell the others that I'm alive." Mary ran and ran all the way to the city. She had never run so fast or so far in all her life. She felt she could have run forever. She didn't even feel like her feet touched the ground. The sun seemed to be dancing and gleaming and bounding across the sky, racing with her and shining brighter than she could ever remember in the clear, fresh air. And it seemed to her that morning, as she ran, almost as if the whole world had been made anew, almost as if the whole world was singing for joy. The trees, tiny sounds in the grass, the birds, her heart. Was God really making everything sad come untrue? Was he making even death come untrue?
Welcome back. I'm here in the Leaping Lizard room, and I want to talk about why is it so important that in the Bible we learn that Jesus is alive. Why is that such a big deal? So I want you to think with me for a minute about things that are alive, okay? Things that are alive. So you're alive, I think, I hope. I'm alive. Miss Autumn, Miss Corey, they're alive. Your grown-ups, plants, some animals. But when people are alive, it means a really specific thing, right? It means they're not dead. So what are some things that you can do if you're alive? Go ahead, tell me, what are some things you can do if you're alive? Yeah, all of those things. Maybe you said you can eat food, like maybe you're eating some Easter candy, or maybe you said you can play, right? Like maybe you're playing with some toys, or maybe you can read, or maybe you said that if you're alive, you grow, right? All of you guys are probably gonna keep growing. I'm not gonna keep growing because, you know, I'm too short to keep growing, but you know, you guys are, and chances are that all of you are gonna be taller than me someday, so that's fun. What else happens if you're alive? You can hear people. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And talk to people usually. And you can have relationships and friendships. And all of those things are really important, especially when we think about the fact that Jesus is alive. Because it means that all of those things are true of him. That he's alive and not dead. If he's alive, that means when we pray, he can hear us. When we tell him he loves us, he feels something. When we obey him, he's pleased. When we ask for forgiveness, he is gracious. He couldn't do any of those things if he was dead. And so the fact that Jesus is alive is what makes the whole Bible make sense. So I brought us into the Leaping Lizards room so I can remind you guys that from the beginning,
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Songs of Songs, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Leviticus, Ezekiel, Hosea, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians, Galatians, Philippians, Colossians, 1 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, Titus, Hebrews, James, 1 Hebrews, 2 and 3 John, Jude, and Revelation.
all of those books of the Bible, every single one of them, are important, not just because they're there, but they're important because Jesus is alive. Okay, so in the Bible, in 1 Corinthians 15, it says, if Christ has not been raised, then what we preach doesn't mean anything. Your faith doesn't mean anything either. More than that, we would be lying about God. And what that means is, if Jesus wasn't raised from the dead, then what I talk about here in the Leaping Lizards room on Sunday mornings or what Miss Corey and Miss Brandy have done in their lessons, if Christ isn't alive, none of that matters. Your faith doesn't matter. Church doesn't matter. But we know that Jesus is alive. He's alive. And so because of that, all of this matters. And it matters for our hearts because we know that if Jesus is alive, we can talk to him and he'll hear us. We can be his friend, and it's two ways, not just one. And we can love him and be loved by him, right? You can't be loved by something that's not alive, right? Jesus needs to be alive if we believe that he loves us, which he does, and he is. And that is why Easter is so important. Not because of church, not because of candy, not because of bunnies, but because it reminds us, it helps us remember that Jesus is alive. And so that's the whole point. I don't have anything else to tell you. Jesus is alive, and that should change your whole life. And I'm so excited to celebrate Easter with you. So I have one more thing. I'll go hop into the Wise Owls room, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Well, it turned into a pizza, but I thought that this was a fun costume to do last month's memory verse. Okay, so this month, April, we're doing John 3:16, but I don't have a fancy poster for it, so I thought we would do last month's because it's really close to what we just talked about. So I want you guys to do it with me, and don't worry, especially you Wise Owls. I know you've been asking me for so long. I did, in fact, restock your toy box. So I got like some sweet things in here, this like cool ball thing, there's some candy, and it's in here waiting for you. So whenever we come back to church, it'll be here, and you can have as many prizes as you remember verses. So keep practicing your verses. Keep practicing them, okay? It didn't stick there, so I'm just gonna stick it here to my pizza. So it says, so I'll say it and then you guys can say it with me if you want. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Now it's your turn. Jesus. That was like 50% of you said it, so we'll count that a win. Jesus said, I'm the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live even if they die. Okay, so let's say that together. Anyone who believes in me, good job, that was better, will live even if they die. Even if they die. Good job, guys. Okay, so let's say it all together. And you can read it with me if you can, and if you want to go. Okay. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live even if they die. And that comes from John 11:25. And that's what we talked about today. That you might hear people, maybe you even heard Hunter talk about this in big church, that today is about the resurrection. That's the big fancy Christian word for Jesus coming back to life. That's all that it means. So Jesus said, I'm the one who came back to life, and I'm the one who gives life. Anyone who believes in me will live even if they die. And that's what we talked about when I was in the Leaping Lizards room. That Jesus gives us the gift of life. That even if we die, we actually are alive with Jesus forever and ever and ever in heaven. Because he is alive. Because he defeated death. He crunched it into the ground and he said, no more. Death, where is your sting? There's no more pain of death, which is because he rose from the dead. So that's why we picked this verse. That's why we think it's so important. And we don't want you guys to memorize verses just to give you candy, even though I really love giving out candy. We actually want you to memorize this verse so that it's in your heart forever, so that you can always remember that Jesus is the life. He is alive and he gives you life. So that's it. That's all I have for lessons. I would normally say, well, go to small groups. So you can go to small groups like with your siblings, if you have siblings, or with your pet, if you don't have any siblings, or with your grown-ups. And you can talk about it. And you can talk about why is it so important that Jesus is alive. And I just want you guys to know I love you so much. I miss you so, so much. And I'm praying for you every single day because I really love you. So I can't wait to see you again. I hope you have the best Easter. Eat some candy for me, and I will see you soon. Bye.